Okay, it looks like you guys are live
I
on
fixed it.
Facebook.
I think I just fixed it.
Okay.
Of course you did.
Okay. It says
Megan wrote, LOL, boo YouTube. Agreed.
waiting for. It still says waiting for Miles Living on YouTube, so I think we just have to say LOL YouTube. Cool. Let's just get started.
Okay, are we on Facebook? Wait a minute. We're on Facebook right now?
Oh, it's also on my YouTube channel.
It is? Okay,
Yeah.
so just provide all of that to people and
Okay.
then
Okay, hold on. I'm
Okay.
setting up on. Whoops. I don't mean to-
Excuse me. I'm gonna mute myself.
Landis, do you want to put your YouTube in the chat?
Do.
Where do you add to the chat? How do you just click? No, it won't let me. Here. I put it in the private chat. Someone can help the old lady out.
Okay, great.
Thanks. I still haven't figured out how to use it. Hey, Callie Lang. We see you. Oh, thanks, Megan, for migrating. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We're
Let's get
everywhere
started,
except not the right
everybody.
spot.
And then I'm just gonna post this to
Happy Epilepsy Awareness Day to you too, Kelly. Absolutely. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on this one or not.
Okay. Hey everybody. Welcome to the
Hello.
Purple Day Live.
We're back.
And we're gonna hope for the best. From time to time, we will just say, go to the Under the Lights Facebook. And if you're still in the chat, I'll just
Hey,
keep
Tiffany.
typing in there from time to time. So I'm Miles. I directed Under the Lights. Hosting is Landis Wiedner, host of only the biggest and most successful epilepsy podcast, What the F, and our illustrious star, Pierce Joza. Number one fan, Jordan Drancon, is checking out the chat. And Jordan, if you could just keep telling people where to actually go, that would be great.
Okay. Hey guys. So I am so excited to be the moderator tonight and getting to field questions and ask questions of Miles and Pierce. So like for me, and we're definitely going to take your questions too. I just really have to get a few off my chest and then I'll open it up to you guys. But okay, the first one I want to direct towards Pierce. So what was it like? Because in the short film of Under the Lights, you do such an amazing job of capturing what it's like being a person living with epilepsy.
Now, I will answer this question. However, first, I must mention that the neighbor is home. The neighbor is dared to come home. For everybody watching, Landis was discussing. I was saying that my cat Frack
George
is probably going to come up on my lap at some point during this. And Landis said, "Oh, you know what? If the neighbor dares to come home, they're going to hear the dog in the background. So I know what that means now."
I'm caught. Yes, or my neighbor, poor Emily. My neighbor Emily's caught. She came home. How dare she?
Now,
Sorry about that, guys.
ask that question one more time because I've totally forgotten it for the joke.
Oh, and could you not hear over the annoying barking?
No, I could. I just,
So I just am curious because you do like a really incredible, beautiful job in the short film of playing a character living with epilepsy and capturing those emotions. So I'm just curious what you did like as like recon or research to embody that person, not only in the short, but then taking it to the feature.
Yeah. Here's really the deal. So I've lived with this project for quite a few years, 7 years,
Wow.
I think, something like that, was when we first sort of started discussing the short. And for the short, I ended up spending quite a lot of time with actual doctors. That was my main preparation. Outside from spending time with Miles and maybe a select 1 or 2 other people who have epilepsy. Spend a lot of time with doctors and I guess parents as well of people with epilepsy. It was such an interesting viewpoint that I crafted my performance from in the short, which was only 10 minutes. So,
What a powerful 10 minutes.
And compared to the feature, which
I can't wait. God, I can't
be able to be seen soon.
Yeah. Does this give me like an early pass because I'm doing this, guys? No, that was a no. That was out. You don't have to say it. That's okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Anyway. So in spending time with these parents, these doctors, you sort of got to see how do they see it? What is their viewpoint? Not being the person who has it, almost all the time, right? The parent doesn't have it, or the doctor doesn't have it. The epileptologist doesn't have it. And when I did a short, it was how does Miles feel, especially having written the thing from multiple different viewpoints: viewpoint of Sam, viewpoint of Molly. In a very small way in the short, even a viewpoint from the dispatcher, the 911 dispatcher, right? Like how does a person like that view this situation? How do they mesh? How do they not mesh? Which is really the important question. And then, and my job though is to play Sam. My job is to not do a disservice to the community. And so it was about finding through the viewpoints of coming to sort of a consensus, at least in my mind, about how Sam would feel, knowing how other people view him, knowing how he views himself, knowing how he would like to view himself, and knowing what's impossible, how impossible it is for him to be that person that he would like to view. And there's the doggy. And so it was challenging, especially shooting it in 3 days. We shot the short in 3 days, essentially.
I can never believe that. Like every time I hear that, I'm like, that can't be true. It's amazing.
And yeah, in our friend's garage, and I'll never not talk about it.
Pretty special.
It's very special, very close to each other. Very close.
Well, I just want to say how much I appreciate you honoring the role and really because everything you just described are really hard truths. I know from me as a person living with epilepsy, and I feel like a lot of people would agree, just those things are hard truths to think about right now. And then for you to take yourself and put yourself in that situation and, like you said, do service to it. Like, I just want to say thank you for, I don't know, respecting the disability.
And thank you. And you're welcome, I guess. No, I don't guess. And you're welcome. But
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's like, well, why did Miles write it? And I'm going to speak for him because that's my job. Miles wrote it because, plain and simple, film and television is a medium. You go there to be entertained. And if it's a really good film, if it's a really good project, you come away and you learn something through no effort of your own, right? It was told to you. That is what makes film and television so powerful. Media like that so powerful. And so in media like that is so powerful, you see, crickets of representation in this area. Why did Miles write it? Because he felt that he could bring, such a unique viewpoint in a way, by the way, of entertainment. And the short, it's crazy to think about 7 years ago that we did it, to this day holds up, in being excellent. And we have this feature now. And I don't even know what the runtime is, but it's more than 10 minutes. I can tell you that much.
11. Yeah.
It's 11. Yes.
That's only once you put the credits.
One shot. There was one shot we had to know, but it's a feature. So now you get to spend quite a bit of time with not only Sam and Molly, but many other people as well. And so when I talk about these viewpoints of doctors, of parents, of caregivers, you get to see it. But if we did our jobs right, which I do think we did, you get to be entertained. So you don't have to come in and sit there and go, okay, well, I as the audience member, I can't do a disservice to this community either. I must learn. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is to come and enjoy the film. And when you walk out and it's cold or it's warm, depending on when we release, you'll hit the old start button on the car because nobody cranks the key anymore. And you go, oh boy, you know what? How interesting it is that I'm having this thought by no effort of my own, because of what just entertained me, what just gave me, dopamine in a way, just gave me emotion. These somewhat hours that I just sat through, gave me emotion. So now I'm thinking about this. So anyway, I don't know. I got off on a tangent, but that's sort of what I'm excited about with the feature version. Oh, and again, anyway, so people can sort of get to see this expanded version of what I did to learn, right? About like, how did the caregivers view, this condition? How does the person with it view this condition? How do their friends, how do strangers view it? You get to spend quite a bit of time with that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful. And I really appreciate all that. We do have some great questions coming in. Should we just go off of those?
Bring them on.
Okay. I got one from Tiffany Caros who said, nope, missed it. Oh, here it is. She says, Pierce, did playing Sam change the way you see epilepsy? Which I do feel like you answered, but I guess my question would be how.
Well, yeah. So here's a good story. I haven't really told this one many times, so it's a good one. When I got a phone call from a very, very good friend who was saying, hey, maybe you would be interested in sort of auditioning for this role. It's a short, but it's quite impactful. And obviously I agreed immediately when I read it. So I was in Florida, okay, the Sunshine State. And I think is the tag, but don't quote me on that if I'm wrong. So I'm in Florida and I was dealing with some family stuff at the time. I was staying in a hotel and the script came through from Miles. I read it kind of pretty much going in blind. The friend who had said, didn't really tell me a bunch about it. Just said, we'll send the script. And I read the script, the short script, not a whole lot of pages. So after 30 minutes, 20 minutes, the first thing I did was Google what is epilepsy. First thing I did, I had no idea. Really, I had no clue. First thing I did was what is epilepsy? Right into Google.
Yeah.
Does not give you the understanding of what is epilepsy as you hold up the skull and you ask.
Right.
But it is a very illustrative.
I mean, we didn't even have AI then. So
right. And no, ChatGPT, I had to write all of it myself.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it was very illustrative of where I was at, even as an actor. Like what is epilepsy? And then playing Sam for 7 years almost in a way has. Well, now I see myself as a part of the community, but I mean, initially, like the learning curve was not like so harsh, but like from nothing to like where I was at the end of the short, even having physically in-person seen seizures, never had that experience before, never seen it before. And yes, I was scared the first time I saw one. And now I am not just because I understand what's happening. Now I have a very unique and intimate understanding of what's going on. And that's the whole point of the movie, is if you understand it through no effort of your own, you don't have to try.
You don't have to try.
You have to try. But if you understand it, all of a sudden it happens in your life, you experience it in your life, you have family, you have a friend, you have an acquaintance, a coworker or whatever. And now all of a sudden there's more discussion about it, I guess is a better word, and you don't go, you go, oh, well, right. Yeah. Or you don't even go anything. You go, oh, it is not this scary monster. So
yeah. And I think that's what kind of we're hoping as an epilepsy community is to, de-scaritize it, which is totally a word. Or just kind of make it more normal and accepted, like in society, where because so many people have it.
You fear what you don't understand, and that is just a human nature. And so if we can get this in a medium where it is well, when you see normalize, it's just that people know, like it's just the knowledge, in my opinion. I think that's kind of what normalizing is in a way. I mean, I don't know, in a very basic sense, just the knowledge of what is, instead of having to go, what is epilepsy, as I sit in the, Hilton, the courtyard by Marriott. I mean, that's sort of the point there.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I really appreciate it. And I'm
going to what better, what a better day to be talking about something like this on than Purple Day, right? The day of exposure.
Yeah. Well, the day Purple Day, and then the 3-year anniversary release of the short.
That's true. That is true.
I cannot believe that. That's amazing, you guys.
And it's worth pointing out.
Only delayed before that.
It's something that really strikes me about this particular short film. Most short films' destiny is to die. It's, as a filmmaker, it's just
I did not know that. See, you have to talk to people who they're 5, because I am not in the film industry. I know nothing about it. So I did not know that.
Short films basically get treated like videos a lot of the time, and they appear, and if they're really lucky, they might have their moment in the sun, and then they're not to be seen again. They fall to the depths of YouTube and they're never seen.
Okay.
Under the Lights is consistently screened live in a theater every month, 5 years after its release. And I mean, I still fly around the country 1 to 4 times a month talking about this. This movie has outlived every short film that I'm familiar with. And I think it bodes very well for the feature that it could very well be something that outlives us as a tool for people who are not ready to talk about their epilepsy, as a tool for organizations to draw in eyes, as Pierce was saying, that would not otherwise be in the room, that have no interest in being sat down and educated, And this achieves all of those things. And that's why we did the feature, because we said, wow, if we can do that in 10 minutes, what can we do, with a full timeline? And
I'm literally going to cry.
It's
That's
been
so beautiful. Well, I just have to pause and say, if that's what we can do in 10 minutes, imagine what we could do with a full film. This film is, I'm so fucking excited. I'm really sorry for my smile.
I also want to give Pierce another point of credit. Pierce does a really good job of talking about the effort that he put in to the role and how to get ready for it and how to treat it with respect. But, I knew that Pierce would do all of those things both times I cast him, but that's not why I cast him. I cast Pierce not even because he's a talented actor. I cast Pierce because he cared so much about the community. And that Pierce, I thought you were going to say another story. And I maybe on another live. First, we'll talk about whether you want to share that story or not. But,
oh boy.
But I chose Pierce because for him, this was not a role. This was not some opportunity to stretch his legs and show that he could, show a lot of, breadth of talent. He did this because he actually cares about being an advocate, and that's a really rare thing. It is extraordinarily rare that we have advocates that are not directly impacted by epilepsy themselves. And without sharing the story, the very first thing that happened to Pierce after he left set was that he encountered someone who needed help and he knew exactly what to do.
Is that
And
the story you were meaning?
that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where epilepsy stories are so commonplace that we just all know what to do and we all just care about it because our point of reference is something empathetic and not scary. And that's what we got together to do here. And 3 years later, the short was shot in 2018, by the way. We call this the third anniversary. It was shot in 2018. It was finished in 2019, and I held on to it for years. So it's been around. It's wild. It's wild.
That is wild. Why did you hang on to it?
COVID.
Oh,
COVID.
right.
I was thinking I could out. I was thinking I could sit out COVID. And then I went, maybe.
Yeah, no. I well, because you said 2019, so I didn't know if it was just kind of like,
Yeah, I waited for a certain film festival, and then I went, oh, well, maybe I'll wait a little longer,
and then March 2020 hit. You're like, never
don't
mind.
make your mistakes.
So I got a question from Layla. It was a while ago, but she asked about the garage, Pierce, that you referenced, and Miles, she wanted to know how you made this garage, or describe how you set up the scene for the short.
Yeah, so we went and looked at bathrooms everywhere, and what we realized was shooting in a restroom is really difficult. Not a lot of it's hard to turn around. It's not really kind to your cast and crew to film in an unclean place.
That I never even thought about that.
And there's mirrors everywhere. And so Spencer and I, my right hand on the project, we just said, well, what if we just build it? Because we were building it in 3D, trying to figure out how to tell the story. And so we thought, let's just build it. So we built a bathroom, and it was minus the plumbing. It was functional, and it was pretty amazing.
So where do you even get those parts though?
He called manufacturers and said, I want you to send me stuff that's broken. And they said, what do you mean? We can't send you stuff. No, I want you to send me stuff that's defective because we're going to break it. They're like, why would you break it? But it was
don't worry about it.
A ton and a half of tile had to be laid for a short film. And it was kind of tragic to have to, Pierce himself took a sledgehammer to it at the end.
Was that so therapeutic?
We have that on video. We'll never
Oh
see
my
that.
God.
Oh, yes. No, therapeutic. Wow.
To break things? Come on. Who doesn't want to break things?
It was fun. It was
there we go. Okay.
Yes. Right.
Okay, we've got another question for Pierce from Austin. And I like this one. Where do you think Sam would be at now 3 years later? So post the high school prom.
Good question.
It's very interesting.
That's so interesting because
I know that's like a
memory is filming the feature, and I guess the same question would sort of remain for that. I mean, I guess I have what might be considered a lame answer, but also maybe not. I would see Sam as whole 3 years later, and what I mean by that, you get a glimpse of it in the short, right? I mean, he has a very emotional phone call with his mom, and it is meant to symbolize his acceptance, realization, understanding, and power in all of those things of who he is, what he can do, what he wants to do, and what he can't do, and how to move forward. He's stuck at the beginning of the short. He's stuck, not only figuratively, he's stuck wedged between a toilet. And it is sort of an interesting visualization of how he feels in life, even when he's not passed out in a bathroom. And then
the metaphor of being stuck.
Yeah.
Between
and then by the end of the short, he is dancing. Yeah. And so I guess maybe a better answer would be, I think 3 years later, he's probably dancing as a whole person. He's a whole person. But you know what? He couldn't have been that person. And I don't think any one of us in our real lives could be that person if we didn't go through what we've been through. And if we weren't who we are.
Isn't that annoying though?
So annoying. How dare they do this?
Do you wish we could learn through something other than trauma or pain? Like,
There's a I just gave a TED talk which I'll post later, but in it I quote there's a quote from Man's Search for Meaning, which is one of the most important books a person can read, written by a concentration camp survivor, and he said that meaning can be found in one of three paths: through love, through work or a deed, or lastly through the attitude that you take towards your suffering. And it's the third one that interests me the most. And I think the making of this film with Pierce, has been my path to meaning. And it's taught me a lot about, taking your suffering and making it for something. Suddenly it makes it worth getting out of bed in the morning. Right. And so, that's where we hope Sam would be. And what's funny is there were versions that started after prom. There were versions that started in high school. There was a version that was a musical. There was a version. It's endless. There are so many hidden drafts that will never see the light of day. But I'll hit two birds with one stone. There's a question in here of like, what's the favorite line from the feature? And I would invite Pierce to answer that question. For me, it's giving something away a little bit, but in the short, he says, I just want to feel normal one time. In the feature, he says, I just want to feel normal. And I think that that's the most normal thing about me. And I think that gives a little glimpse into maybe what has Sam become, right? Maybe. I think that's sort of the transition.
Can I analyze it or no? Should we just move on? Sorry,
you got so many good questions in the chat.
I was an English major. I want to analyze the shit out of it. I'll stop. Yes, we do. Where was I just lost one. Oh, someone wants a musical of
I want it too. I want it so I want it so bad. I
burned that hard drive.
Made a copy.
Well, and I do have a question though for you, Miles. Just because it's so awesome. When I was diagnosed with epilepsy, like I was already an adult and I couldn't find any adults anywhere with epilepsy doing anything. And except we've got the celebrities and stuff, but like real people. And so anytime I see someone with epilepsy doing something difficult or amazing or incredible, I'm always just like, fuck yes, this is fantastic. But also how do you do it? So I'm just curious, kind of keeping, the schedule of a director, which I, again, I'm completely ignorant about, but imagine would be difficult. What was that sort of balancing act like for you and continues to be? Because as you said, you still travel 1 to 4 times a month. And that is true because you are at every epilepsy event I go to across the country.
I spawn, yeah. I have a spawn point at all the EFs. The answer is that I had an incredible crew, like a really incredible crew, and that treated me with so much understanding. And I ended up not having any issues. And I think that the reason is that someone was always there supporting me, always, at every turn. I was just so grateful for, people literally just next to me being like, hey, I got you a snack, they're like, hey, do you need this? Do you need that? I got you some water, just at all corners, Yeah. The cast supported me with, I got to work with the coolest actors, which was it's just this incredible experience. And I think somewhere just deep in my brainstem, my brain just said no, we're doing this, and I took very good care of myself. I trained ahead of this a lot. I trained my body.
For sleep deprivation or alteration or what? How do you train for a movie?
Well,
I'm ignorant.
I just tried to take as good a care of myself as I possibly could. I exercised a lot. I started to the schedule was built in such a way where at least we tried, to create as balanced a thing as we could. And, but people just really were supportive of me. And, I really lucked out. We owe the movie to the crew for sure.
That's awesome.
If I can jump in here, I want to answer Joy's question. Joy put a question in the chat. I just want to clear this up in case anybody else is wondering this. Joyce said, I'm confused. So the short that we see of Sam in the bathroom and then going to dance in the auditorium is all of the short film we will see. And I think I interpret that question as the following. So if you're unfamiliar with what a short film is, it's most of the time it's sort of a hope. It's a proof of concept, right? It is what you can get the money for, because things unfortunately do cost money, and oftentimes a lot of it. And the short film, you would actually blow your mind how much even just the 10 minutes cost to film. But that was used so that we could get funding and interest in making an actual feature film, which is where we're at now. And that's what we filmed already with some, like Miles was saying, some really cool people. So you will get more of Sam's story, but the short film will always live as what it is, which was our attempt to be able to build to where we're at right now, which is have a full feature film. So that is hopefully an answer to your question there, Joy.
Yeah, that's a good clarification. And I'm getting a lot of questions for you, Pierce, about what it was like to simulate a seizure or
Sure.
like act out a seizure.
Yeah, it is hard. It's difficult. It's actually difficult, and not that anybody would say, oh, that must be easy. But here's the thing is you do not want to caricature the seizure. Number one, that does a disservice to the community. It increases legitimacy. It shows that you have not prepared correctly. But you can't undersell what's happening at the same time. You have to understand what kind of seizure you're having. Sam deals a lot with absent seizures, and has at some point he does have tonic-clonic large, sort of grand mal type seizures, and obviously two very different kinds, call for very different things. I based my absent seizures that I did both in the short and what you're going to see in the feature, which of course there's more volume of that because it's longer runtime. On Miles, I spent quite a bit of time with Miles, just kind of observing him, the poor guy. Not the poor guy, because he was the one saying, "Look at me, analyze me, watch me." Yes, I am your muse, and I don't know if he said that, but I made that up. But there were some things that I noticed that Miles would do, and that's some. I think it's a little bit different for every person, slightly, though there are some commonalities. And there were some muscle tics, especially with absent seizures, small ones that I would try to replicate. I got pretty good actually after a while of just knowing what that felt like inside my body. I've always been a very physical person, not in a violent way, if that's what that sounded like, but just a very physical person. I grew up as an athlete in like 5 different sports, and was good at them. And so I think my body I've always been very comfortable with physicality. And so that really helped. And so my body's more accustomed to sort of learning things in a muscle memory way than I guess usual, I don't know. But
Yeah.
That's sort of where that came from.
I mean, as like fucked up as that sounds, to be like, yeah, it just kind of became usual for me to have a fake seizure. It actually makes complete sense because it is essentially, while it's different for every person, it's essentially a repetition of that same thing for every person. It might be different seizures, as you mentioned, but they are pretty repetitive in nature. So,
Can I jump in there?
No.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, this is that's a great answer, Pierce. And if I can add anything to that as a credit to Pierce, is that this decision is not a light one to have Pierce play this role. This is me putting my professional reputation on the line. Seriously. Because if I do this wrong, if I cast the wrong actor, if I trust the wrong actor, epilepsy or not, I'll be the guy that lampooned a community or disrespected a community. And it won't be that actor's fault, really. It will be mine because I failed to communicate the experience. And so, Pierce and I did work. It started on the short, and then I think that really was sort of a good foundation. And then we talked about more complex things after that. I said, I'm not going to record until I feel like I'm looking myself in a mirror. And I think it's important to note there are more than 40 kinds of seizures. And even if you have two people with the same kind of seizure, they present differently. The experience is different. So even if you take two people with epilepsy and you have them play a given role, they don't necessarily have exactly that diagnosis. So what I had to do is I wrote a character that has a similar diagnosis to me. And then I found someone who's a phenomenal physical actor, who's a phenomenal performer. And I remember sitting with you, Pierce, you just talked about this, like working out like all the muscle movements, and I feel that I picked someone who could come as close as humanly possible to knowing what it's like to walk in my shoes.
Mm.
And I've said before, just today, I was at a Purple Day thing, and I said, my goal as an advocate is not to ask someone to walk in my shoes. My goal is to ask them to understand that they feel the same feelings as me. And the relationship between an actor and a director is kind of that. It's almost similar to being an epilepsy advocate, in that my ask is, Pierce, maybe what can you dive into that is similar to feelings that I've felt in real life that made me put these words on paper? And so I found someone who was phenomenally good at that level of empathy, and that level of empathy makes him an ideal epilepsy advocate, and so that's just something that I'm tremendously proud of, is watching that performance and going, I haven't seen myself on video very many times, but that's me. And I hope that lots of people watch it and feel the same way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A review that will be going on my resume. Thank you. I appreciate that, and that is part of what makes me feel good about what I did, and that that it didn't come from a real place. So that's good. I want another person. I can see some stuff coming through on the right side of my screen. So I want to get back to It's a Good Day in Ivan's World. And they asked, how many boxes of tissue should a parent of a child with epilepsy have on hand when they go see the movie? I think I went through one whole box watching the short. I cannot express how much love that this has become a full-length movie. I love my son, only 6 years old, but we'll grow up with having this movie as a staple to help this world understanding epilepsy. And well, that's kind of our hope, obviously, with this movie, is that people, or like your son, do have indeed something, a bit of ammunition, for lack of a better word, in their pocket for when a person like me in a Courtyard Marriott in Florida goes on their computer and types in what is epilepsy. Not only is there going to be a Google explanation, but maybe what comes up too is a movie. A movie, that'd be cool. Maybe that'd be interesting or whatever. Or, wherever we land, maybe it outlives us. Maybe Miles is right. We're clicking through something, and random person's clicking through something, and they see Under the Lights, and they go, "Oh, Pierce Joseph, boy, he's terrible. I should watch this and laugh at him." And they learn, right? And they are entertained or whatever. And,
I can assure you the odds are very low. I've seen this movie more than most people will ever see it.
But dude, I by the way, total side note, not related to any of this. I got roasted by Chat GPT the other day. It was pretty good. My buddy, I was sitting in a park with him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, do you know that Chat GPT can roast you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." Brutal. Oh no, terrible. Don't want that out there.
What'd you type in?
Roast Pierce Joseph. Literally. I guess it files information. But as for the amount of tissues, I guess I suppose it's up to you. I think not only could there possibly be tears of remembrance and stress and of connection, but also of joy and happiness. I really think that you won't just have tears of sadness and stress and and of negativity, I guess is the point. But I really think that it's so hard to pack everything into a short, which is why we want to do the short, to make something longer and to make something proper, to make a full thing. You get way more time to sit with whatever emotions you'll have. So I don't know, at least one maybe, but I definitely don't think you'll just be a crying. And I know I haven't when I've seen the stuff of just of negative stuff. There's good stuff in there too. So.
No, it's not. It's not. If I set out to just make some tearjerker, then I think I'd be just as bad as I'd fall into a similar category as the people who use seizures to scare people, right? So we wanted to show Sam just being a kid, and my adolescence was just all about that. It's just I just want to feel like a kid. That's all I want to feel like. I want to do regular, normal things that other people take for granted.
Yeah.
And I think that the film's aimed at that. Here's another thing that the film does well. Film doesn't really have an antagonist. And they might say like, oh, must be a terrible screenplay. Well, no, it's a man versus world story in a sense, because it was really important to me to not have a school bully character who's just
why?
Because I think it's cheap. Because if you have a school bully character pushes Sam's books down, says, "Watch out, seizure boy," right? Like that,
which does happen. Let's just be clear. Like that is a reality.
Right.
Totally.
Exactly. And it's a privileged experience not to have gone through something like that. Right. But the whole audience would go, "Oh, screw that guy." Right. I'm not like that. But the fact is no, maybe not that extreme, but at some point we're all like that. At some point we all do the wrong thing. At some point we all say the wrong thing. At some point we all want to be helpful and want to be a friend and fail because we didn't listen. And the movie's full of people like that. It's full of people who mean well and probably identify as a good person and just they're not paying attention and they don't listen. And I think Sam is also guilty of that at some point,
Of course.
And it puts them all on, I think, a realistic playing field and invites the audience to say like, oh, I might be like that. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're never going to identify with the bully.
Right. No, and I think there's a lot of, it goes beyond epilepsy. It goes beyond chronic illness. Like you said, it's just like man versus the universe. Like, I think it transcends everything else that everyone can relate to, because at some point everyone wants to feel normal, which, as Sam points out in the feature, is normal. So I'm really proud of myself for remembering that line. But I think that's why this is so powerful and will go beyond the epilepsy community, because it's so relatable because everyone has their thing. Well, no matter how small or big or whether you can see it or can't, everyone has something that they're dealing with. And I think, Sam does such a good job portraying that via epilepsy.
Thank you. Yeah. In the movie, I think that the feature will, we got, all I'll say is we got really lucky. It's not oftentimes, Miles said earlier, shorts often live to die. And then if they don't live to die, they live to, struggle to make a feature, which is very obvious that it was a struggle. And I wish our industry wasn't that way, but, oftentimes it's more of a business than you would like it to be. And we got really, really, really lucky. And so we kind of got to do this without, the worry so much of like being stretched too thin. And so we got to pack a little extra fat in there, a little extra meat to bite down on, to sink your teeth into. And so when that comes out, it is, if you like the short film, you're gonna like the movie. You're gonna like the movie. So yeah, but I just wanted to acknowledge Michelle, I believe Gagel. I believe how you say your name. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but you saw a 15-year-old was diagnosed with epilepsy as an 11-year-old. Hers are thankfully managed by medications for the most part. But you're so right when you say that the kids just want to be normal and want to be like everybody else. I'll talk about this. That made me think of something that I kind of wanted to mention while we're here. Between the time that we did the short and then we did the feature, it was only 7 years. So there's a lovely old quote that goes, "Life happens wherever you are, whether you like it to or not." And life did happen to me personally. And there was something that I went through that was quite a long process. That was, just to put it, shortly, extremely scary. And so the phrase "just want to be normal" became a little bit more personal than maybe I would even like it to be to me. But it comes when we talk about that, and of course, like I say, we have more time in this feature to talk about things like that and explore things like that. All I'll say is this: is it came out differently, and I meant something different when I said it in the feature versus when I said it in the short.
Oh, wow.
And I think
Wow, dude.
it shows, sometimes you can only learn things by going through them, but, also you can't know everything. You can sit and you can learn and you can listen and you can be present, but you can't know everything sometimes unless you maybe have a little bit more heat from being close to the sun. And so I think, if you were to go and watch the short, and watch kind of how I portray that, not that it's not real, and then you go watch the feature, I think you'll definitely be able to tell that there's two different people there talking about that. So
That's remarkable, Pierce.
I understand where you come from, and I'm happy that your 15-year-old is managed and is doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you said that.
Well,
I love the way you said that. Also, by the way, Ivan's World is the boy who sang.
Oh, whoa! Oh my God! How could I forget? Of course. No, I know exactly who it is now. Yes,
Help the rest of us out. What are you guys talking about?
Of course, Miles. There was a video I believe that Miles sent to me, and this was possibly when I was not doing very well. I think I was going through that thing that I was mentioning of a young man who was singing some songs that I was as a part of, and suffice it to say, he freaking killed it.
Yeah, he did.
It was absolutely heartwarming to see. It was a totally separate project, a musical that I did, but anyway, it was cool to see the young boy Ivan having fun with something else other than under lights. But I'm happy that he found. It's interesting to be found through this to filtering into the world of zombies is what the movie was. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome.
You absolutely killed it, dude. That's awesome.
So there have been a lot of questions to you, Miles, in here about how you feel having done this work and what this one person said, and I'm sorry guys, I lost your names. But like to see your dream come true. Assuming this is your dream. Another one said, like, how did it feel like, finally wrapping on the feature? Everyone wants to know your feelings, Miles. I don't know how you feel.
I've never wanted something more in my whole life than this. And in the moments where, whenever there was any moment of shakiness or something, I personally felt like I might die. Not that I would ever, this gets really serious. Maybe this deserves a trigger warning or something. Not that I would ever harm myself or anything like that. But like I might cease to exist. Mm-hmm. And that was a really awful, scary feeling. And it was a very long process to get this off the ground. And the community made it happen. Like the epilepsy community made it happen. And I was on the phone with someone, usually several people, every single day for years, just trying to be heard and trying to get help. And at some point, I literally bought a lottery ticket. And I just watched as it, like, I felt so ridiculous. I was just holding this thing in my hand at like a Safeway and like walking in and hand going on my computer to like look up if it was any good, because I just felt like my soul had died.
You mean
And
just with all of like, were you getting a lot of just like stalling, rejection? No, like, what do you mean? What was the
making a movie is just really hard. It's the culmination of all art forms, in some cases including architecture. It's the most expensive of all art forms.
You designed a fucking bathroom. Yeah, architecture.
Well, I mean, like the short was one thing, right? The short was one thing.
I was just in a 10-minute film.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the short film had architecture. Like,
yeah.
It had like AutoCAD. It was crazy, right? And so I think the difference was with the short, it was like, yeah, I want to make this movie and like I want to like win a film festival and all of this stuff. And then once the fan art starts pouring in, and once I start to realize what we had done together and the scale of it with the feature, I felt like my life was for something more important than me, and that I was simply like this vessel husk thing that had to be there in order for it to happen. So any sort of like personal achievement was no longer really part of it. Like, of course, yeah, like winning shit is cool, but that is no longer on my radar at all, because if this doesn't exist, there are people whose lives will go unchanged.
Yeah.
And that's an enormous amount of pressure that sort of lived behind my heart every day that we shot, of like, this has to go well today. This has to go well today. And it was really scary, honestly. It was really scary because it wasn't for fun. Like, we did not make Under the Lights for fun. We did it because we are in this incredibly luxurious position where we could actually make a difference for a lot of real people. And so I'm still living with that. Like, and that will never end for me. Like, it's a weird thing because I want to celebrate, like, oh, we finished shooting. And all I remember is just this sense of like, I just felt like lost in space because it won't really ever end for me. Like, I have to be on the forefront talking about this to keep it, make sure that people know about it, make sure that it does its work. And it's a great pleasure. I'm not saying I don't like to, but Under the Lights will like never end for me. I don't know who I am or what I am outside of this anymore. Epilepsy was not something I really wanted to be a part of. And now it's the most important. It's the reason why I live and breathe. And so anytime there was any doubt, oh, an epilepsy movie, no one will ever care, any kind of thing like that. It made me, I don't know, it makes a person feel things that you can't really describe. So.
Yeah, I think that's oh, sorry. Pierce has his hand
no,
up.
I didn't mean.
No. I'm the, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what you are. No. So there was just this question that just came through. I saw here that I think is really interesting.
Oh, you were stealing my question, Pierce.
Was it from Sky Jackson?
Yes.
Oh, well. Well, Sky says, do you think the feature will bring people with epilepsy that hid in real life out? Like, that's me. Someone gets it. And yes, I think both Miles and I not only hope that, but do think that. And when I read that, the reason I wanted to mention it is because I talked a little bit about how important it is for you to be understood and you to be, and how much that makes you more comfortable to live because you are less worried about what the lack of understanding from other people, the being scared of other people. And I thought about Harvey Milk. There is a movie called Milk about Harvey Milk. And I believe he was a California assembly member. He was a congressman from California, he might have been. And I believe he was the first openly gay congressman in the United States, I think, is his story. And but that happened in the 90s, I think. And it was, you had AIDS in the 80s. There was oh my God, so much fervor around that, political, personal, social, whatever. And, So when you had a person like Harvey come out and express himself from a viewpoint where people could say, wait a minute. Okay, he might be different one way, but hold on a minute, he's a human, right? I think I'm hoping we'll have some sort of similar effect. Although this isn't that type of story, but it is a type of story that is similar in the fact that it does not get out there a lot, like we've said. Anyway, I'm very much hoping that will have an effect similar to what you saw when Harvey Milk was brave enough to share his story, especially in the position that he was in, with eyes on him. So with eyes on us, in a way, in the form of media, in the form of film, I am indeed hoping, Sky, I believe is your name. Yes, Sky, that people will get to feel like they can come out in a way and are more comfortable in talking about what about themselves, because the whole point of Sam's journey, at least, is understanding who he is. I do think that he does indeed have an arc that I'm hoping people will feel comfortable enough to replicate, of showing who he is, not only by figuring it out himself, but then being brave enough to show it.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I have, for not everyone knows, but I have a podcast called What the F Podcast, and almost every guest I have has epilepsy has like a point where they not finally, but they were comfortable disclosing. It's like their turning point, or as Pierce, you're saying, like coming out, or like whatever it is. It seems like everyone has that point, and I just want to just put it out there, like, too, like, it's okay to not be comfortable yet, or ever, like, but like the work you guys are doing is trying to also
you should have more. You should have more. You are deserving of more understanding. Everybody is, but our focus is on a certain group, and so speaking of those people, you do deserve more. Miles has fought so hard for that to happen, and through moments where it's like he's talking about making the film, and he's talking about this like stress, and it isn't, because when you make a film like this, that sometimes you relinquish a little bit of control in a way, and you have to it isn't like shooting a short with people very well on a much smaller crew, on a much smaller scale. Not only does it mean more now, but you've got more of a business aspect to it. That's stressful. With that in tow, you don't want to lose the fact that you want people to be able to express themselves. And anyway, so we are very aware of that. You deserve more.
This is something that I say sometimes. It's like, we did this so that people will tell their stories. We also did it so that someone doesn't have to. Like so I stole this from Karin Brar, Pierce. Like Karin, in a conversation, had this thing he called the meerkat effect. And from this point forward, I've decided that I coined it, and no one gets to know outside of this conversation that he actually came up with it. Which is that he said, like, there's this thing that happens when, like, with gay people, where they're like, people who are questioning like if they should come out, and he called it like the meerkat effect, of like they're sort of asking questions, sort of like looking to see, like, okay, so the meerkats that go above the dirt, like, do they get eaten by lions? And if they don't, okay, it's okay for me to come out. So Under the Lights does that. The short certainly has for people, and encourages them. They get up and they tell their stories, which then in turn makes it better for someone else to tell their story. But also there's the other side of that, which is that hopefully this existing and enough people who want to tell their stories telling their stories makes it so that person who just isn't, it's just not for them, doesn't have to, because people are just going to understand, right? Yeah. And I think the most compelling example of that I ran into was, I got asked to join a Zoom over COVID. family has a this man, his wife is from India, has faced unimaginable stigma her whole life. Her family says, you don't tell a soul ever. It's shameful. So she's lived with this. She's living here in the States, and she doesn't feel ready to talk about it, and that's her choice. What she does decide to do is to host a Zoom call with everybody she knows and shows a screening of the short film. And her husband gets up and says, listen, my wife's not going to come on camera. She wants you to just watch this 10-minute thing. And she's not going to come on camera. She just wants you to watch this 10 minutes. And she wants you to know that that's something like her. And that's it. She didn't tell her story. She didn't have to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Holy-
wild.
I'm crying during this conversation.
Great
How am I going to make it to the future? Oh my God.
way of putting it.
Don't see it.
That's amazing.
Don't watch it.
Did you say don't see it?
Don't watch it. It's not for you. You have no trouble sharing your story.
I know. Yeah, I could just shut the hell up sometimes. Well, speaking of which, we've been on for an hour now.
Okay.
So, in light of, just wanting to be mindful of everyone's time, including mine, because I don't want to have a seizure tonight. So we're going to wrap up with like last questions. But one of the things that I want to know, because this is like the red carpet part of me. What was it like working with, just you guys had such an extraordinary cast, obviously Pierce, you included, but like it's star-studded, that feature film. Like you guys, like it was like, oh well, Pierce Jones is gonna be in it. He was in it before, and it was like, okay, sweet, we still got him. And then it was just like, and this person, like I have a list, I can't keep track of people. But we've got Lake Bell, Randall Park, Mary Holland, Nick Offerman. Like what? So what was that like? Because this is the red carpet person asking.
Well, I think they learned a lot from me.
I bet.
That was not cool of me. It caught me off guard. That was great.
No, I mean, the whole joke is I say that because the funny bit is the opposite. I learned so much from all of the people you just mentioned. I spent a lot of time with Lake Bell. I think in a way she influenced my acting quite a bit. She has a pretty unbelievable ability to come into, I've always struggled with like starting a scene naturally. She has this way of doing it that's pretty incredible. So I learned quite a lot from her. And I just spent so much time with her, but I have to say more than anybody else, I didn't get to spend, as much time as I did with Tanzan Crawford, who plays Molly. Dude, oh,
I knew I missed a name.
She is so damn good. It's annoying. No, man, it's just like, it feels like it's just like breathing. Her acting is just like if regular human was breathing. It's so good with what seems to be no effort. And that's what makes it so incredible about it. I'm sure there is actual effort, but because when I look at it, I'm like, my, it looks like she's just, it's like nothing to her. It's almost like watching Shaun White in the Olympics. Is like, that's it makes it look so easy, right? Tanzan's so amazing. Really learned a lot from her, especially about finding the natural, tones of Sam. I got the pleasure of just pulling from everybody else around me. That's what it was like for me. What about you, Miles?
I feel like I got to work with almost like every kind of actor. Like all the kinds of actors that you read about. Like if you open up like an acting book or a directing book or something, and it talks about like processes, like how different actors work, I feel like I had just this treasure trove of approach and strategy and different things, and it was magical to watch everyone work in a different way.
That's very cool.
Two people who weren't on the list there.
Sorry, I didn't catch
No, it's okay.
everyone.
It's okay. By the way, Tanzan is about to be in Game of Thrones, so
Dude.
keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
And
That's awesome.
Maren Hinkle and Kevin Carroll, who play Molly's parents. Oh my God. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I just
Oh, I'm so excited. This is gonna
oh
be
my
so
God. I learned so much from all of these actors, even the ones who kind of pop in and pop out.
Mhm.
Nick Offerman is as funny in person as he is on screen, and I always watch his roles and I'm like, oh, I wonder how much of this is an act. Like none of it. you know, he's just the nicest man,
Yeah, that's
and I
awesome.
just felt like everybody really wanted to see this win. Every single person involved just really wanted. They did it out of the kindness of their heart. Like I'm nobody. Screw me. Like I'm nobody. I'm
Fuck
just
that,
some
Miles.
guy.
You are not nobody.
I'm some guy who wanted to make a difference in a movie, and
Who did make
I
a difference?
chose to do it
Who
through
is making a
movies.
difference?
Well, thank you.
You are, and I just want you to just know it, because everyone in this chat, there's like more people saying, Miles, thank you, than any other question in this
It's a
chat.
team effort, Landis. It's a team
Okay, you
effort.
can
I
keep
am the
deflecting
team.
my compliments, but I
I
will
am the
still
team.
compliment you.
But
I am the team.
you do the math and you say like how many kids go to film school dreaming of what we just did and get to do it, and the answer is like pretty much none of them. Pretty much none of them get to do it, and we made a real movie. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's it's so great.
What's Nick Offerman, talking about him, I don't know how long he's been in the industry, quite a while, pretty well-known feller, and successful guy. Can you maybe not step on my computer, please? Thank you.
Oh, what's your cat's name again?
The Fracas is here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello, cutie.
Go away. But he said this thing when we were filming with him, and he goes, I'm going to cut out the swear words. He goes, making a feature is this impossible thing. Always. You can have $100 million and it is still like impossible to do, more often than not because of the budget. But when, even, at lower budgets, comparatively to where things are some days, it's like, it's still an impossible thing. There's so much that, like, God, there's so much that goes into it, but the whole point of all of that is to sort of do from a, she's eating my charging cord, and I kid you not, get out of it.
She's like, pay attention to me. I'm going to cut your power.
Here's the thing. It is to do what sort of Tanzan does, or what Kevin Carroll does, or Maren Hinkle does,
Pierce Joseph.
And well, sure. I don't know about that guy. But it's to do what they do, and by when you watch their performances, you go, oh, that was easy for them. You will look at the movie and you go like, oh, that couldn't have been too hard. By the way, that also adds to the entertainment factor. If you can sit and watch a movie and you're not thinking about like, oh God, wow, that must have been really hard for those guys. I can really tell how hard it was. You really succeed because it's as easy as breathing. Your popcorn and your Sprite or Coke or whatever,
Feel something, damn it. Yeah.
So, generic water brand, and you get to be entertained like that. So
yeah, no, it's so true. I've never thought of that way, obviously, because I'm not in this industry, but like, that's so when you're watching something and you're like, you're not even thinking about the actor or actress. You are just you're in it.
Yeah. And if
that's what you guys created already.
You got a good movie, right?
Yeah.
So you can hear it. You say it now. We're going to be better than Citizen Kane, and I will never take that back. I'll never take it back.
Citizen lame.
Yeah, more like it, dude.
And I got 26 in the
and illegal action. No, but anyway,
well, you guys, this has been absolutely amazing. And I'm just, I'm so glad I got to be the moderator tonight and, talk between you guys and ask you guys questions. And this is it's all just pretty dope.
We're lucky that you did this with us.
And thank you everybody who joined.
Seriously.
Yeah, I know you guys have been amazing.
I'll take that, man. That's a good talk. Happy Purple Day, by the way, to everybody.
Happy Purple Day.
Happy Purple Day.
If anybody wants updates on the feature before you go, we had great attendance, by the way. The attendance didn't even really dip. I think it stayed at like 70 people the whole time. Underthelightsfilm.com. Go to underthelightsfilm.com, put your email in, and you'll get a notification when it comes out, when there's a major update. And go see the short if you haven't. But I'm really thankful for the two of you for doing this with me. I'm fortunate.
Thank you, man.
So am I. Thank
All
you.
right. I love you guys. Love everybody.
Love y'all. Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
out. Appreciate you.
My
Have a
cat
good night.
executing herself. I'll see everybody later. Bye.